Good afternoon, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. That's pretty annoying, isn't it? Shipyard Discovery, IPA. And a good story. This is a story that I've heard of. I think it's a ballet. It's called the Nutcracker. And that's what it says there, the Nutcracker. There was a toy soldier in a box. We're in, of course, my treasury of Christmas stories. We're going to read these right up to Christmas Eve. Last month's Christmas Eve. I think it's called the Snow Queen. But let's see what this is about. I mean, I'm sure it's another poem because these are all done in the form of poems. Poetry is a different art form than ballet. Ballet is a dance form with music. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not an opera. I think it's a ballet because there's things like the dance of the sugar plum fairies, and then there's the marching wooden soldiers. Like, maybe I saw it when I was a kid. Maybe my mom took me to see it when I was a little guy, but I don't remember. Your parents probably all saw it at some point in time, although I didn't take Tom and Frank. One cold and frosty Christmas Eve night. And a lot of these happen like Christmas Eve. So it's people going, hey, I'm getting ready for bed, Santa Claus is going to come. And then what happens after that? Because Christmas is a magic time when you think about it. I mean, the real story of Christmas is the birth of Jesus. But all this myth has grown up around Christmas. Christmas started as a winter solstice festival in Northern Europe. So these were people that had like Druid worship practices and stuff like that. And I'm not going to get into all that, but it was a pagan holiday. All the stuff about burning the Yule log, bringing a tree inside and putting it in your house, they all sprang from pagan religions and practices that predated the birth of Jesus. And then Jesus came along, and a lot of the people who would worship these pagan deities, they started to worship Jesus, but they kept their holidays, some of them. And they incorporated that into, it's called syncretism, I think, where you take two and you put it together. I studied it in Guatemala between the Catholic Church and the native religions. And they had this whole like cult type worship of these deities, even though it was a Catholic church. Secretism. Well, maybe I'll remember while I'm reading this to you. So, one cold and frosty Christmas Eve night, the Stahlbaum house shone festive and bright. Twinkling candles lit up the tree as guests arrived for the Stahlbaum's party. So Stahlbaum is a German name. Clara and Fritz both clapped to see treats of chocolate, candy canes, sugar mice, and sweets. So and they're German names, Clara and Fritz. I know somebody named Fritz. Oh no, actually, I don't know somebody named Fritz. I know somebody named Franz. So for some reason, they're pointing at the Christmas tree. I don't see any sugar mice. Oh, yes, I do. If you look real close, you see these like mice hanging there. So now we put stuff on Christmas trees that you just look at. But it used to be that people would string things like popcorn on there and goodies, and you could just eat them off the tree. Chocolate candy canes, sugar mice, and sweets. Yeah. The last to arrive was Herr Drosselmeyer. Herr means Mr. Herr Drosselmeyer, who offered his gifts for all to admire. Clara and Fritz chuckled and cheered as two life-size dolls suddenly appeared. Then Clara and Fritz watched entranced. So they're almost like in a trance-like state. They're like, whoa, watching this as the magical dolls whirled and danced. So here's Fritz and Clara, and then the two men, Mr. Doppelganger or whatever his name is, Mr. Stolbaum, and there's the dolls in between them, and they're dancing. But they're not humans, so how are they dancing? But we'll see. And Arla, you're into clocks. What time is it, buddy? It's a hoot owl clock, a hoot owl on it. Then Herr Drosselmeyer took out the best gift of all. He gave Clara a splendid Nutcracker doll. In his elegant uniform, he was a fine sight, and Clara's eyes opened wide with delight. But before Clara's thanks had even been spoken, Fritz grabbed the doll, and it was broken. Oh, Fritz, man, shouldn't have done it. So you see in here, there's the doll is in there. It's a nut, they're calling it a Nutcracker now. It's a soldier, but they have these mouths that you can pull it down and put a nut in there, and they go, I think you hit it on the head, go bam, and it cracks the nut in there, and they shape them like wooden soldiers. But this Fritz, he booked the chair, as your dad used to say, Frank. Herr Drosselmeyer, being kindly and good, tried mending the Nutcracker's splintered wood. Then, after much feasting, dancing, and play, Herr Drosselmeyer left on his sleigh. As they waved goodnight, Clara's mother said, "Hurry now, children, it's time for bed." And there's that man, Mr. Drosselmeyer, Herr Drosselmeyer. He's taking off in his sleigh. And so it's snow there all winter long up in northern Germany, probably is where they are. They might even be in the Alps, up in the mountains. And so that's like a sled. It's pulled by horses. They go through the snow. And then you see there on this side that the busted up little toy soldier, the Nutcracker. Later that night, as the silent house slept, Clara rose from her bed and down the stairs crept. And that's not cool. That's not cool at all. You're supposed to stay up in bed. When your parents put you in bed, you should stay up there, because you never know. First off, you might see something that you don't want to see. Like somebody is going to give you a good surprise, but it's not a surprise anymore because you came down and saw it. But the other thing is, if you're a little kid, you want parents to be around because there's dangerous stuff. These houses had they didn't have electric lights and everything. They had gas-powered lights, and they used candles, and they had a fireplace. Tons of danger. Then among all the presents, she quickly sought the Nutcracker that Herr Drosselmeyer brought. Snuggling down with the doll at her chest, she waited for sweet dreams to fill her night's rest. And we see here that it's, I think, 5:01. Yeah, 5:01 in the morning. But you knew that, Arlo, didn't you? Because you're a clock guy. And there she is, nestling that Nutcracker, that toy soldier, to her chest. Before very long, she awoke with a fright, startled by strange sounds in the still night. Sitting up quickly and blinking her eyes, she saw that the toys had grown to life size. Her beloved Nutcracker stood mighty and tall. When she stood beside him, Clara felt small. So these are the sides of full-grown men, I guess. And here they are. And that must be the Nutcracker that she was given. It's there on the same page with her, and then 5 other dudes. Behind him, tin soldiers stood in a row. Oh, so they're not Nutcrackers, they're tin soldiers. Behind him, tin soldiers stood in a row with their muskets all loaded and ready to go. Oh no, I don't know, because these aren't muskets. These are swords, but you'll see in a minute. Then a troop of gray mice marched into the room and started a battle by the light of the moon. Man, your grandmother would hate this story. She'd be kind of like, that's nasty. They have mice in their hands. Remember, what happens in Storytime with Grandpa stays in Storytime with Grandpa. The mighty mouse army, led by the Mouse King, bombarded the soldiers and looked set to win. So there's the mice. And there's the soldiers. They don't have muskets, they have swords. But I don't know. It's all good. The Nutcracker commanded as best he could, but they were outnumbered. It didn't look good. When the Nutcracker fell, Clara took up her shoe and aimed at the Mouse King, then desperately flew. The soldiers all cheered as the king was struck down. The mice were defeated, and the toys seized his crown. So there's the Mouse King, chucking a shoe at him. And there's Soldier Boy, got the purple heart. Yeah. Oh, I'm injured. I need a purple heart. Oh, I'm injured. When Clara looked into the Nutcracker's eyes, she was amazed and gasped with surprise. For during the battle, or perhaps even since, he had changed from a doll to a handsome young prince. Now the prince looked at Clara, bowed down and cried, "Come, my dear Clara, let's go outside." And so for some reason they have the dead Mouse King lying there, and then Clara's probably fallen in love with this prince. I thought Clara was pretty young. Yep. The prince led Clara to a magical sleigh that flew through the night to a land far away. There, beneath the stars twinkling bright, enchanted snowflakes danced through the night. The dance is for you, the handsome prince said, but we mustn't stop here. There's more fun ahead. And we see that these snowflakes are actually little pixies. I think that's what they call them. Pixies. See those little things? They're dancing. They journeyed on to the kingdom of sweets, a land full of dancing and sugary treats. The sugar plum fairy, so dainty and nice, danced especially for Clara on a stage of ice. Next came a dance from the sweets of the world, who made Clara dizzy as they twisted and twirled. So that's the sugar plum fairy in the middle. And then the treats are all around there. And this is all stuff that in the Nutcracker, they they do all these dances. Maybe we'll all go to the Nutcracker sometime. Olive, when you're a little bit older. The next thing she knew, Clara was awoken, and her Nutcracker doll was no longer broken. Had her adventure been all that it seemed, or was it a fantasy she just had dreamed? Clara's questions were soon chased away as Fritz wished her a Merry Christmas Day. So that's the question. And here we see Christmas tree again, and she's got the Nutcracker, and it's mended. So she really went down there, went to sleep, I guess. Went to sleep someplace. Maybe it was all a dream, and maybe it really happened. That's the point of the story. Did it really happen? Well, this thing's fixed, and it was all busted up. Nobody could fix it before. Anyway, Merry Christmas. Peace out. Goodwill to men.